I know I definitely already saw one over here. I mean, number one, we got to go Dr. Strangelove, right? This is like a transformative experience in terms of comedy. I laugh hysterically at this movie no matter how many times I watch it. And I think when I was like 14, it was like the first time I saw it, and I didn't understand it at all. But it took me a while to understand it. And then I ended up seeing it with an audience. And it was at the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston. And so it was a theater setting, yeah. And like being with the audience and hearing where the laughs go cued me in, and then I was like, oh, gotta go Alien. Gotta go Alien. What's crazy about picking Alien is that, and that our conversation will get into too, with the fact that I'm doing horror, is that I'm not like a horror guy. I mean, Ridley Scott, just in general, is a hero of mine. Just the world building that he did in this movie is unbelievable. His work with the artist there, what's his name? Geiger, yeah. That just creating that whole world and then making it what it's become now. One of the best examples of producing I think you'll ever see, and directing. Oh, you know what? I'm not going to go sexy. I'm going to go straight Dogma, man. I haven't seen a physical copy of Dogma in years, thanks to Harvey Weinstein, that son of a bitch. Son of a bitch. I mean, Kevin Smith is one of my heroes for sure. His dialogue writing is unbelievable, and his ideas are bar none. Plus, this is, I think, the best out of Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. I mean, the whole cast is just unbelievable. So this needs to be sold again in the stores. My name is Cameron K. Morton. These are my Desert Island picks. I am a producer, writer, and director, and you're watching the Film Stock Podcast.
All right, so do me a favor and tell me what your opinion is on Ridley Scott's Alien Covenant and Prometheus.
Well, he didn't direct Covenant, did he?
He didn't.
No.
He did.
He did?
No, he did. Yeah.
Did he direct Covenant?
He directed Covenant.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
I didn't know that I thought he only produced it. I love Prometheus.
Yep.
I think it's brilliant. I know a lot of people found it boring.
Well, I think everybody was expecting the Alien.
Right. Which, like, you have Alien.
Yep.
You already have that movie.
He was expanding his horizons.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's what he does really well.
Mm-hmm.
And he definitely, like, he doesn't milk an idea just to milk it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he only goes back to him, I feel like, when he has a good reason to.
Something to say.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm not upset about Gladiator 2.
No.
I feel like if he's going back into that world, there's something there.
He says that it's the best movie he's ever made.
Yeah, but he's the best promoter of himself.
Yeah.
Like, he does that with every movie that he makes.
I mean, I think if I was like, what is he, like 86 now?
Yeah, he's like 86 or 87.
Yeah, 86, 87. I think if I was 86 or 87, I would be like, this is the greatest movie I've ever made.
Ever.
Because I made it when I was 85.
I don't know how he continues to work the way he does. Like, even watching the behind the scenes on Prometheus, like, he's still storyboarding.
Oh, yeah.
He's still doing all the concept designs and, like, working just as hard, if not harder, than anybody else on the set.
I was just listening to an interview with him.
Mm-hmm. Napoleon?
No, it was a Hollywood Reporter roundtable of producers.
Oh, this would have been from a little bit ago then.
It was a little while ago, yeah.
Yep.
Because it was like Seth Rogen, Amy Pascal, Jason Blum.
Okay. I'm trying to... I know the roundtable you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm trying to pinpoint what he was working on at the time.
He might have been working on... Oh, I think the new Blade Runner had just come out.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's...
Because he didn't direct that, but he had a hand in the production.
Right, yeah, because Denis.
Denis.
Yeah. But yeah, what was I saying?
I was talking about how he's still involved, even at 87, and working hard, if not harder than everybody else.
Right. Which what he ended up saying about his process with directing was that it's him and like 3 artists at the beginning, and like one of which is a writer, another is production designer, and he just does all of this artwork and figures out the entire movie before he even brings one crew member on.
Smart way to go about it.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
Because then by the time, he goes to make the film, he has a whole
He's got a Bible.
of just being like, here, this is what it is.
make it happen.
Let's go.
Yeah.
You know, and everybody has a blueprint to work off of, which I thought was really cool.
And again, with Prometheus, that same, they were talking about what you were just saying, like the 3 artists ahead of time, like coming up with everything. They were saying that, yeah, and at 5 o'clock, it's as soon as 5 o'clock hits, cigars and wine and food come into the office and we continue working.
That's how he keeps going.
Yeah, exactly. He keeps himself young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not afraid to take a little, you know, breather here and there.
I also think that his way of filming, it's a lot of people probably think it's stupid, but I kind of like it, where it's like he'll have 5 cameras rolling for one, you know, like he'll be doing, okay, we're going to get the master, we're going to get our mediums and close-ups all in one go. It's going to take us 3 hours to light it, but then we're done for the day. Like we just got half our day's work.
Yeah, that's always been interesting to me. I don't know if I would, if given the budgets that he's working with, if I would do the same.
If you still had the same budget he had, you don't know if you would do it the same?
Yeah, I don't know if I would have that many cameras. I feel like you miss stuff. Even though you think that you're capturing all of it because you have a camera everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like you're missing these key moments, and you're missing the opportunity to be there for each shot. You know, you're definitely taking yourself out of numerous takes.
Fair enough.
You know, and then on top of that, then it's like, okay, well, how are you going to like go through it? You're gonna have to watch playback on everything, and you gotta check every camera. And
I feel like it works better for like the battle sequences
Yes.
as opposed to like, you know, conversations. But he
Right.
swears by it. He's like,
Yeah.
no, even during conversations, like simple coverage. Here we go.
yeah, I'm a big advocate of one camera for like conversation pieces and things like that. Yeah, I can totally understand with like the stunt work needing multiple cameras because you don't want to do that
Yeah.
a bunch of times.
I feel like we don't need to dwell too much longer on Ridley Scott, but good Christ, I
mean,
think he's fascinating.
Yeah, he's amazing.
And the other thing that I think is fascinating about him, oh shit, what was I just about to say? It was going into, oh, it doesn't even matter at this point. If I lost it, I lost it. Let's talk about you.
Well, hold on. Alien Covenant.
Yeah. What do you think about that? Because a lot of people didn't like that either.
I really liked it.
I loved it.
I
I
thought
think it was his
very
best soundtrack
entertaining.
too.
Yes.
The soundtrack's amazing. The whole
Soundtrack's
med bay
amazing.
sequence.
Yeah. I thought it got back to his roots of like a fun movie to watch. Like it was enjoyable to watch.
And it also expanded the universe. This expanded the lore of Alien.
Yeah, for sure. And then they kind of, I mean, I don't know how you felt about Romulus, but
I haven't seen it.
you haven't seen it yet?
Haven't seen it.
Okay.
There was like a brief period, like a 2
Boys,
month.
have you seen Romulus? What'd you think? They liked it. All right.
They liked it. I've told them they can't really talk to me about it too much until I see it.
It's good. I enjoyed it. I love all the Alien movies for the most part, except for maybe Alien versus Predator. But
Alien versus Predator like hit me at the right time where I was like, I love this. That used to be like my repeat DVD.
I did see it in the theaters, to be fair.
But it is
that's
shit.
Yeah.
It's shit.
Yeah.
They haven't done much with the Predator series. They tried to reboot it with that the one with like the native person on like,
Right.
some
I
foreign
didn't see
planet.
that one.
Neither did I don't think anybody did.
No, it did not get very good reviews, that's for sure.
No.
Yeah.
So your career, you're an AD.
Yes. Career AD as of right now, yeah.
Something we like to talk about on this show is how there's no one path to doing anything in the film industry. How did you get your first start?
Well, let's see. I mean, I've kind of been obsessed with movies since I was a kid, like most of us, right?
Do you remember the first movie that got you obsessed?
I saw Jurassic Park in theaters when I was a kid.
That did it?
With my mother, and that was like the fact that they could bring dinosaurs. I was at that age where it was like, you're obsessed with dinosaurs. Like everything.
How old were you when you saw it?
Well, when did it come out? It was what, 93, 94?
Something like that.
So I was probably 4. Very, very little. But it was at
It's very little to be seeing that movie.
Yes. My mother had me very young and did not make the greatest parenting choices, which is probably why I became who I am today.
Sure.
But she brought me to that movie in theaters, and I was obsessed because it is that age where you're like starting to learn about dinosaurs and everything, and like just the entire thought of dinosaurs is so foreign to people in general, but like a child, to be able to visually see it
come to life
in
in front of you and then attack people roughly your age
is mind blowing. Yeah, you know, it's just completely, that immediately got me into like, how did they do that? Like, and then there used to be these TV shows when I was like 5 or 6 years old that were like behind the scenes of movie making.
Oh, really?
But it was geared towards like kids.
Oh,
They'd show it on like Saturday mornings and stuff like that. It was like, it was a very short little series. One of the ones that they did was Armageddon.
like with Ben Affleck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, big blockbuster movies that they're typically talking about. But they showed like all the miniatures of the White House and how they blew those up on camera.
Yeah.
And that shit just fascinated me. Like that and like special effects makeup, because I was really into like painting and art at the time. So like even at like 8, 9 years old, I started making little movies with my grandfather who had
Like Sony Sony Handycam, whatnot.
not even like you got a VHS camcorder right there. That's that's what we were using.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the shoulder and everything.
And would you edit in camera?
Yeah, before I even knew what that meant. Like, I've gone back and found a bunch of VHS, which I guess I should probably bring it here to get digitized.
Get it digitized.
Yeah, right?
Sean will take care of you.
Yeah, I got a lot of VHS tapes.
He's giving you the thumbs up.
Yeah, you got some work to do, brother. But like all of my childhood movies, which are all just silly, stupid things where I'm just trying to figure things out. But I was doing in-camera editing before I even knew what it meant. And looking back on it now, I'm like, oh, I was starting to figure shit out back then. That's cool.
You'll probably like look back at those, like, when you are able to make a feature film and it like gets distribution, and that could be like Criterion Collection, like, Cam's art pieces from and it'll probably blow your mind. It was like way ahead of its time.
I think I had my favorite one that I ever did, and I haven't found it, but I remember it specifically. I had built a town out of like tissue boxes. And I like drew windows and doors on them, and I put them out in the driveway. We had a dirt driveway back then, and I had all these little cars that I was pulling on fishing lines to be driving down the road. And then I had a buddy of mine spraying water so that it was raining.
Really?
And my grandfather was filming. So we were trying to do all these, like, trying to make a storm on camera, because then I think I had seen, like, Twister or something like that.
Yep.
Which was another. I was really into, like, these big blockbuster movies when I was
Bring
a
in
kid.
the leaf blower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shit like that. And, like, just figuring all that stuff out. And I just got, like, really obsessed with it. And I just started making my family watch all of the things that I was making. And they were like, oh, I guess this is, like, what he does now.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And then I started acting in high school a little bit on stage. Did comedy for a little while. Still doing that now.
Yeah, when we were talking earlier, you said, what, your first time doing comedy was at age 14?
Yeah.
How does that work? Most places you can't even get into.
Well, it was at school.
Really?
Yeah.
Like talent show or something?
It was a talent show. I was a sophomore, or a freshman rather, in high school. And I did, I think, between 5 and 10 minutes, something like that. But I had written it all out and gave it to the teacher. She approved it. And
then I changed it all.
And I didn't. I stayed right on script, and I still got suspended.
Did you really?
Yeah, I got suspended because I made some distasteful jokes that probably don't age well.
And the teacher approved it?
And she had approved it, but I still got suspended.
Sounds like a her problem.
I got a standing ovation, though.
Did you?
Yeah. So that, I was like, all right, I'm hooked now.
Yeah.
So I've always been in the performing arts type of deal. Definitely never once looked at doing a normal job.
For sure.
And then when I turned 18, I went to Columbia College Hollywood out in L.A., which is in the Valley, which is a good school.
Yeah, we had kind of talked about it a little bit on the way here, but like, what was your experience in LA? Most people, I feel like I had told you this, when I graduated from college, I assumed I needed to go to LA. When you were over there, did you get the sense that like, this is where you should be? Or were you already seeing that the film industry was kind of branching out?
It was kind of like what you were saying about when you got out of college, you thought you needed to go to LA. I thought I just needed to immediately go to LA, like right out of high school. Like, I want to be a filmmaker. I have to go to Hollywood.
Yeah.
Hollywood's in the name of my school.
Yeah.
Like,
I've made it.
Yeah. Clearly, I'm doing the right thing.
Next, I just need to drop everything in the name that's not Hollywood.
Right.
And I'm here.
Yeah, exactly. And so it was cool. I went there. I was definitely taken by the lights
Mm.
and the glitz and glam of everything, and going on all like the Universal tours and seeing the back lots and things like that. It was cool to see like what old Hollywood used to look like and things like that. But I only lasted there for about 2 semesters
Hmm.
because I didn't have a car out there,
And I feel like in LA, you need a car to do anything, right?
Yeah, I was like, I was poor. I don't know. I'm not a good student.
Okay.
I'm a terrible student.
So when you were going to school, were you also working? Did you like get any like jobs that would have,
I was doing security on movies.
were you?
Yeah.
So you got to be around sets
I got to be
and
around sets. I got to see what was going on and just kind of like gander at shit while I
Mhm.
was just like wandering around, making sure nobody stole a camera or anything like that. Which I continued to do when I moved back because I ended up
Oh, really?
transferring to New England Institute of Art, which doesn't exist anymore because they suck.
Is is that true?
Yes, they were so terrible they had to shut down.
Was it a
Uh,
smaller school or?
yes,
Yeah.
the art institutes are all over the country.
Okay.
But the New England Institute of Art itself was notorious for screwing over people that went there for money.
Oh, wow.
And I actually ended up getting all of my loans expunged because I went there,
That's kind of a
which was
win.
awesome.
That's a win.
I'm still paying for Columbia, but
Fair enough.
New England, not so much. But so I had moved back here. I had transferred to that, and I was doing security on Night and Day
Hmm.
with Tom Cruise.
And Cameron Diaz?
Yeah.
Yep.
And that was the first one that I did that had like big effects,
Yep.
like where the set was like so big, you're like, oh, what the fuck? Like,
Mm.
this is crazy. I think we blew up a 747 in a cornfield.
Did you really?
Yeah, which was, I mean, the fireball had to be like 300 feet high,
Yeah.
which also, like, you just don't do that anymore nowadays, anyway, typically.
Not really, no.
So, but that was like one of those things where I was like, oh shit. And so I was working on that one. Then I was working on the town
Mhm.
as security. And I just started, meeting people on the crew and in the cast. And I got laid off from security, and then they hired me in the town.
Really?
Yeah, as a production assistant. And then I just didn't stop.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So since then, that's all I've really been doing. So,
God damn.
yeah, it was wild.
That is wild. That's kind of similar to my experience. as soon as I graduated, I think I was telling you, I interned on this like small movie here in Rhode Island,
Mm-hmm.
30 days unpaid, like 16-hour days. And I got recommended to go and work on Black Mass. And I kind of had that, like, there were no fireballs on Black Mass, unless you want to count the smoke that was coming out of Johnny Depp's trailer. Um, but on that, as soon as I got there and like saw the trucks and saw the amount of people and saw everybody in 1960s wardrobe, like I was like, "Whew, I've made it."
There's something about being on the set of a period movie
Yeah.
that really, it's shocking. Like it's one of those moments where you kind of like, no matter how stressful the day is, you have to at some point stop and look around and be like, this is fucking cool.
This is about as cool as it gets.
Yeah.
Playing actual make believe for a living,
Right.
but like with the highest budget possible.
Yeah, we get so, as an assistant director, you're going through so much shit every single day. You're getting asked a million questions all day long,
Mhm.
and it's an incredibly stressful job all the time, 90 hours a week, crazy. But then, like, I remember one day I was like working on a movie, and I was so stressed out. I was pulling my hair out, and like I'm trying to get special effects to pump more smoke into this room, and it's just not happening fast enough. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on, dude? And then I look down, and like Mark Wahlberg's sitting here, Amanda Seyfried's sitting here. There's a stuffed teddy bear in the chair, and there's a bong. And the reason I'm asking for more smoke is because they're hotboxing her attorney's office.
Yeah.
Why am I angry?
Yeah. It could be
it's
so
like,
much worse.
It could be so much worse. Like,
Yeah.
I should not be angry at this. I should be laughing at this. So that seems to happen quite a bit, but yeah.
Now, out of curiosity, and this was something I dealt with like almost immediately getting into the film industry. You always think about, well, what's the next step? I don't think that anybody gets into the film industry thinking they want to. I don't know. I'm not going to speak for everybody, but in my head, I didn't get into the film industry being like, I want to be a PA, I want to be a grip. Like, I had my eyes on being a writer, director, producing my own stuff.
Mhm.
And I kind of found my path through locations where it's like, okay, I was a location, production assistant, got to be an ALM, and, I've managed some things. And it's like, this is cool because I get to interact with every department. I really get to see what they're doing. And
For
this
sure.
seems to me to be a, good source of finances so that on the side I can do that.
Hmm.
But there was a time where I was a PA and I was like, being an assistant director, that seems like a pretty cool fucking move. That way you get right up to the camera, you're working right with the director, like you're in the thick of it. Um, but the thing that turned me off was that at the time, I think there was something like you needed to submit 600 days.
Yep, still do.
Still do.
Yeah.
So can you tell me about like why did you pursue that specific path?
I similar to locations, in terms of like having to deal with all the departments.
Hmm.
Like you do that as a PA anyway, but specifically in the AD department, you have to talk to everybody.
Get that right up here. About a fist from there you go.
You have to interact with everybody as an AD. And the initial interest that I had in it was the fact that I was looking at the first AD standing right next to the director.
Yep.
Which I want to write, produce, direct.
Get
So
right next to the director.
why not get right next to the director, see what the fuck's going on over there by that monitor, and like hear those conversations and be able to get there. So I really kind of focused on, when you start as a PA, you're on the outside of the bubble of set.
Yeah.
You have that big circle that is a movie set that just kind of travels all over the place. And
you are the perimeter.
And you are the perimeter. And you have no idea what's going on at the bullseye.
Mhm.
But my goal, career-wise became, how do I get to the bullseye?
Mhm.
Like, how do I get closer and closer to the bullseye? And AD seemed like the best way to do that while learning everything that goes into it. And it ended up being more than just learning what goes into being a director.
How so?
Because when you're an AD, you're dealing with the director, but that's amazingly like
Small potatoes.
the smallest part of your job.
Yeah.
Like having to deal with studios and other producers and like just
UPM.
all of that, the politics of a movie set in general. It's invaluable to learn. And I think if you're going to direct a movie, you should at least have an idea of how that all works.
The politics of it all,
Right.
so to speak.
Because then you can kind of manipulate things to work in your favor. You know what I mean? So AD seemed like the path for me. And I'm also, when I go home, I'm an introvert. But when
being an AD must force you out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as a performer too, it's like when you're ADing, you're essentially doing a performance on set every day.
Yeah.
You're trying to, your audience is the crew and the cast. And that you want everybody to listen to you. So you have to be some sort of voice to everybody. So it was good to just kind of get myself comfortable with that.
And when, I think we had talked about this earlier, but you said Joy would have been when you actually got your 600 days. I mean, how long did that take?
So that would have been, when was Joy?
Think it was winter of 2014, 2015? 15.
Yeah, so I would have started on the town in like 2008, 2009.
Wow, so that was like a 5-6 year period of getting your 600 days to submit.
And I definitely could have submitted earlier.
Why didn't you?
I'm really bad at school, and so I'm also really bad at organizing my own paperwork.
Yeah, that's a thing, man, because I don't know. I remember it was like, as a PA, you're not getting the digital call sheet.
No.
So I remember getting on set and like you get the call sheet for the day. And like in my head, either DGA or IATSE, whatever union I'm going to apply for, this call sheet is now sacred.
Right.
So like hold on to it. And like I had a folder like this big with all my days on it.
I think it wasn't until like halfway through my PA career that I realized
like that clicks
that I needed to keep my call sheets.
Yeah.
And then I had to go back and hunt down
that must have been a nightmare.
Previous jobs. And my girlfriend at the time, who is also, she's my ex now, obviously, but she's also an AD.
Okay.
But we were PAs together.
Yep.
And she really
She was good about keeping all the...
Yeah, she kicked my ass a bit and
Yeah.
and got me to put my book in. So I really owe it to her more than anybody else. But it eventually happened. I eventually got it in. Also, they always say, yeah, it's 600 days, but you should put in more because sometimes a lot of those days don't count.
How so? What prevents a day from counting?
I guess it would be, just like the size of the project. If it's really considered a DGA signatory project, like
like a tiered movie probably wouldn't...
exactly. Like I definitely did a couple feature films that were not DGA as a PA.
If you don't mind, was Some Freaks technically DGA when we did that?
No.
Okay.
No. So I was a non-union AD on that.
Yep.
Which was another thing that I really enjoyed doing too, but a lot of those non-union AD days did not count towards my DGA days.
Do you still like doing like tiered projects?
On occasion.
On occasion?
Yeah.
I love them.
Yeah.
It feels like summer camp.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, they pay shit, but it's whatever.
But that's why we work, the 9-month gigs so that,
Right.
You can take the smaller ones. I just love it because it's such like an intimate, like you're not dealing with a crew and cast of 200. You're dealing with like 35 crew members.
Right.
You all know each other.
And you don't have to you're not getting notes from a studio.
Yep.
You're not going to have to go back and reshoot shit because somebody who hasn't left their office in LA in 5 months decided that, they didn't say that thing right.
Yep.
There's nobody that's going to be coming in and being like, you need to show the Doritos bag more.
Yeah.
So yeah, the tier jobs are a lot of fun.
They're a good time.
And like what I would, but I don't know, you've worked on plenty of big budget stuff with me, and I am very comfortable in the big budget world.
It took me a while to get comfortable. I am now, but it probably was after my first union gig was Nosferatu season 1, and the guy who was the locations manager.
That was your first being in the union?
Yeah, so I got out of the industry for a year. Because
I remember that.
I was doing just PA work, and most of it was in Boston, and I'm here in Rhode Island. So I'm driving an hour and a half one way to stand on a corner for minimum wage. Like, where I was still at the perimeter. Like sometimes I'd get a little bit closer to monitor, but I was mainly at the perimeter. So I was just like, this doesn't financially work for me right now. So I got a year out. I worked as a cameraman, video editor for a news station.
Yeah.
Hated it, but I was like, it's a means to an end. Like it afforded me an opportunity to move out of my, parents' house. I was like, this is fine. But then I got a call from a guy that I was the locations PA for him. I'm not going to say his name because the experience on season 1 didn't go all that well. And he kind of called me up. He was like, listen, buddy, I need an ALM. And if you hop on tomorrow, like I'll guarantee you that you're in the union. And I'm like, done. I quit my job that day and I hopped on Nosferatu. So that 6-7 month period being on that TV show, I was learning as I was going, and I was making the Teamsters mad. And
that's how we do it, though.
That's how you do it. So to answer your question, it was season 2. No, I got on Defending Jacob. When I got on Defending Jacob, that's where I felt so comfortable because I had Ryan Cook kind of being like the shepherd to this whole process. And he the first thing he told me was like, I know you have minimal experience, but I'm not going to let you fail. So like I was still making the same mistakes, but
Cookie.
He's the best.
Yeah.
He's one of the best LMs in the industry, but he was pointing to things that I was doing and he was like, don't do that again. I was like, right. And I just kind of walked with a little bit more confidence on that set.
Yeah.
And you get used to, dealing with the rigging grips. You get used to dealing with the Teamsters. And once you go through that one show, it's like, okay.
It's funny you say, you live in Rhode Island but you were working in Boston. Because when I was starting out as a PA, I started on the town, so I was in Boston for that one. But then, like every other job after that, for the first couple jobs were all in Rhode Island.
Really?
Yeah, because I did Body of Proof down here.
Yep.
Which is really where I learned a lot. Like my second was very much like a mentor to me, Chris Ryan.
Yep.
And he taught me quite a bit. He taught me how to talk to different departments, and like,
which is an invaluable thing to have in your back pocket.
Like knowing how to go into conversations with, because everybody's different, but a lot of people in a department are similar on different movies. Like,
how so? Can you be more specific?
Certain personalities fit departments.
Yes.
Like like ADs are very loud,
Yep.
boisterous people
Yep.
who are a little nutty.
Yeah.
Props people are very anal retentive.
Yep.
Teamsters can be a little scary to a lot of
Very
people.
scary.
Yeah, and I think on Body of Proof, the first test of that was my second coming up to me and going, remember how I told you need to know how to talk to the Teamsters? And I was like, yeah. He goes, all right, camera's swinging this way. We're going to see all the work trucks.
Jesus Christ.
Go talk to the Teamster captain. By the way, we're going to be ready to shoot in 15 minutes.
Holy shit.
And so I walked up to the guy, and I walked up, and I was like, yeah, I think his name was like Jimmy or Tommy or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
The usual.
The usual.
And I was like, yeah, these fucking assholes. They said we weren't going to look this way, and now
We're not looking this
are.
way.
And they don't think that you can get these trucks moved in 15 minutes. I said I think you can, but
That's good.
They think that you can't. And he was like, they say I can't move these trucks in 15 minutes? Fuck them. And then within 5 minutes, the trucks were gone. And I was like, oh, shit, that worked.
God damn.
Yeah. So it's like learning that stuff. Once you learn that stuff, it's just a matter of it's just time. You just have to be around all these people, which is it's hard not to be around these people because you're working with them 90 hours a week. But once you get past the learning curve of learning how to talk to people on set and just the movements of day-to-day activity, I feel like it gets so much easier and so much more comfortable.
It does.
Yeah.
But it's amazing because the film, you say it's easy because you're around these people all the time.
Yeah.
But it's amazing how quickly the industry will weed out who doesn't belong there.
Mm-hmm.
Those
now.
Especially now.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because of how little work there is. Is that what you're getting at? Or?
Well, no. I mean, I think the industry's changed so much since I started in terms of assholes. They really weed out the assholes now. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's still plenty to go around, but it's not as bad as it once was.
They weeded out the unnecessary assholes, I would say.
Yeah. And I'm not going to name who it is, but I saw a first AD throw a cold breakfast in a PA's face down in New York once. And to the PA's credit, she just looked at him and went, copy that. And then walked away. And I was like, oh, shit.
That person's going to keep rising.
Yeah. Oh, she's doing great.
Yeah.
And he doesn't work anymore. So
fair enough.
That tells you where we are now. But back then, nobody did anything to that guy for doing that.
Yeah.
But now that shit doesn't fly.
I had an experience on my first show. I fucked up the parking major. That was a Teamster. There was something with scheduling. We were shooting at a school, but the person who negotiated the contract, it's we can only be there when school lets out at 3. So we've got all the Teamster trucks lining up. They're ready to roll in.
They're just waiting.
The parking lot is not clear. Ooh. It's now 3:30. Teamster hums a walkie-talkie at my head, and I duck, and it hits the brick wall behind me. I saw it. I think a lesser person would have been scared, intimidated, that guy's an asshole. I saw it as an uncle getting mad at you, and that's how they took it out.
Yeah.
It's a learning lesson.
Yeah, it's fine.
Don't fuck up again.
Yeah, don't do that again.
That same Teamster, though, at the end of the second season, he texted me, and as Teamsters do, man of few words, he said, you've come a long way since last season.
Yeah. I
saved that text, and that's my pride and joy right there.
Those are great moments, aren't they?
They are.
Yeah, moments like that, and definitely just the whole growing experience in the industry it's just weird. It's a weird family that you end up being with.
It is.
Which is why it's been so hard now with the strikes and everything, and now that the work has slowed down, because it's you're not with your family anymore. I feel lost.
Yeah, it's weird because you have intense, anywhere from 2 months to intense 9-month shoots where you're more or less conjoined at the hip with everybody. Almost becomes ancestral in a way.
Yeah.
But then it's long periods without, and this has been one of the longest.
Do you do what I do? And I have a bunch of people in my life that aren't in the film industry that pointed this out to me recently, and they're annoyed that I do this.
What is it?
But I do it with film people, and nobody ever says anything. I won't talk to somebody for 2 years, and then out of the blue, I'll text them. But it won't be hey, how you been? It's been a long time. It's like, hey, I saw this. We should do this sometime. And it's just like getting right into the conversation immediately after not talking for 2 years.
Yes.
Yeah, I do that all the time. My family fucking hates it.
Yeah. My family and friends have kind of gotten used to it at this point.
Yeah.
But it also comes from like you did theater in high school, I did theater in high school, and then a little bit in college and afterwards.
Did
And
you act?
I did in high school, and
What'd you
then
play?
I'm Slim. That it was a made up character in Oklahoma. Like I don't know.
They added a character to.
Well, he was a background character. He had one line, but he was unnamed. So I'm like, he's
Okay.
gonna be Slim, and they're like, you are Slim.
You are Slim.
You are, and went all method. It was great.
I was such a method stage actor back in high school.
But to the point, it's like even then, like in high school, it's like no, we've got like a 3 month like theater is life, and
Yeah.
like every blinders on everything else. So it's just like you grow up and you continue playing make believe in these intense bursts,
Right.
and nothing else really matters.
Yeah, and you just you're not used to a 9 to 5. You're not used to like a normal schedule.
I wouldn't be able to get used to it at this point.
No, I can't go.
No.
I did just because it's been so slow. I started doing tour guiding
How's that going?
for Salem. I'm
Yeah.
done with it now because Halloween's over, but it was fun. It's like talking to a bunch of background actors.
Sure.
You're just
Herding the cattle.
herding the cattle all over the city and yelling things at them and teaching them things. So it was fun, but it was also like very odd because I had like a set schedule and I was going to the same place every single day, and I was like, this is driving me insane.
Yeah.
I can't do it.
Luckily, it was a gig. You know.
Yeah. Luckily, it was just seasonal, and then now it's over. But yeah, I can't imagine going to the same place every day.
I got the same way. So obviously with the strikes and whatnot, the industry's fucked, nothing's really happening. So I was telling you, I got a job as an events manager for this wedding venue over in Bristol, Rhode Island.
Yeah.
And for like it was a 5-month gig. And for like the first 3 months, I was like, this is fun. Like, it's kind of, everybody's happy because they're getting married and there's good food. But then around the end of the 3rd month, I had the exact same feeling where I was like, I'm showing up to the same place every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm staying until I'm seeing the same people. It was like, where are the explosions? When are we like, I don't know. When's it going to get interesting?
Yeah. When am I going to eat chicken? The only thing I want consistent is the same lunch every day.
Yeah.
Chicken, beef, fish.
Yeah. And a breakfast burrito in the morning.
Yeah.
When
I gotta go quesadilla in the morning. Yeah.
When I found out I could, there's a movie that I'm thinking of, but I'm not going to be able to pinpoint what it is. But, I saw my coworker at the breakfast truck getting a burrito, and I'm like, do I have to pay for that? And he's like, no, you can have as much as you want. Can I have 2 of those? And like I took one and like put it in my coat for later. And like I'm going around to all the new PAs. I'm like, did you know that they're going to give you a burrito in the morning?
There was a joke that me and Anderson had on set. Eric Anderson, another AD department person, where we always get on walkie and we're like, guys, did you know there's free Pop-Tarts at Crafty?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to leave $5 just in case.
Here we go. Yeah. It's amazing.
Can I hit this while we're...
Yeah. This would be as comfortable as you want here.
I feel very comfortable in here. It is very homey.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So you've been doing this, you've been kind of killing time as we all have, but you had kind of alluded to during this time, you've kind of gone into other avenues. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. We briefly talked about, COVID happened first and foremost, which kind of killed everything for everybody.
But then ironically, like that was kind of the golden years for us. Like there was like a 2.5-year period where I don't know about you, but I had to turn down work.
Yeah.
Like there was so much happening.
Well, I got into a couple things and then into Dexter. That was another big one.
That was huge.
Yeah. So that was a long job. And then I actually got flown down right after Dexter to do a TV show in Bogota, Colombia.
How was that?
Not great.
Okay. We'll leave it at that.
I had to sign some papers that say I won't talk about it, so we'll leave the details out of it. But needless to say, it wasn't fantastic.
Okay.
So that all happened, and then the strikes happened. I quit drinking right when the strikes pretty much started.
Which is ironic because that would have been the time to be a drinker.
Right. Well, that was the thing is like COVID got me so in the bag. I was like, I was already always kind of a heavy drinker, but COVID
really did the thing.
Really amped it up a bit.
Yeah.
So when the strikes happened and a couple other things in my life happened, I just was like, I'm done with drinking. And that really opened up like my creative brain once again. It was like reintroducing myself to creativity, because when you're ADing, it's like, yeah, we work in the creative field, but
it's not exactly that.
Right. You're helping the creatives get their job done.
Yep.
By dealing with the logistics and the bullshit.
Yep. If you're doing your job right, the director only needs to worry about playing make-believe.
Right.
Yeah. You have to handle all the bullshit that creates that world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's not what I originally got into this industry for. It was always kind of I dropped out of film school. My film school is now being an AD. Like for the next, however many years until I decide to really make a go of directing.
Sure.
And I think I got sidetracked ADing and just got really comfortable with the work and making money. And then when I couldn't anymore and I wasn't drinking anymore, I was like, shit, it's been a lot of years of not doing what I want to do. And I'm not getting any younger. So I think it's just time to start doing it. So that's really what kind of inspired the whole resurgence of comedy, for one, but then also producing and directing things.
Yeah, and to my understanding, Route 44, is that your kind of directorial debut after, your hiatus with ADing and then, kind of your creative renaissance, so to speak?
Yeah, it was so for like a good year, I was focusing just on the comedy stuff, and then I produced 2 short films. One's called Shape of Money, and the other one's called Maeve's Mirror. And Steve...
Wait, you produced Maeve's Mirror?
Yeah.
Remind me the director's name. I was in contact with him.
Paul Ogren. He did Shape of Money also.
He did?
Yeah, so he did both of those, and so did Steve.
That's why I met Paul when we were doing Kill That Man. He dropped by the set.
Yeah.
And I got to talk with him a little bit. So how'd those projects go?
They were good. It was fun. And getting to work with Steve was awesome. I'd never met him before. You just had him on, I saw.
We did, yeah. Steve's a great guy. Very talented.
Very talented. Comes from a different world than I did, but definitely has like an incredible eye and nose for storytelling. And so like meeting him, it was definitely the catalyst of those jobs for me, at least personally. And then Rosario, who I think you've interviewed as well, right?
Yeah. We've had Rosario on the podcast, and I've known him forever. I love Rosario.
Yeah. So, it's funny because like I knew Rosario when he was a background actor.
Yep.
And that was really my only interaction.
Wait, background actor on what?
I mean, it was years and years ago.
Okay.
I can't even remember a specific movie, but I remember him being one of my background actors and like putting him in stuff. And then next thing I knew, he was like a locations PA.
Okay, so the background acting came before locations PA, because I was gonna say he's been around for a little bit.
And then eventually he was my walkie PA.
Yeah.
And which,
I love Rosario, but like it's a perfect example. Like he was picking out the movies on this, and like he couldn't decide which one. And I remember him always being frantic with the walkies and retentive about getting them back.
Day one of the Julia pilot.
Yep.
I'm like, did you get the walkies handed out yet? And he's like, I'm still. It's like, okay, all right, dude. Yeah. And then 10 hours later, he's like, I still have to get into this department. I'm like, how are they even talking to each other right now? But he's great though, and so like we've become close over the years, and kind of out of the blue, he hit me up and was like, hey, me and my girlfriend wrote a movie called 44. It's a short film about the redheaded hitchhiking ghost of Route 44 in Rehoboth, Massachusetts. And I was like, that's so weird. I have not heard about that ghost since I was probably 6 or 7 years old.
Oh, but you were familiar with it?
Very.
Oh, wow.
Incredibly familiar with it. My grandfather got a book for me called The New England Ghost Files when I was a kid. It's signed by the author and everything. And he used to read me all these like true ghost stories that take place in the area, and a lot of them take place in like the Bridgewater Triangle area.
Okay.
And the red-headed hitchhiking ghost of Route 44 was the one that always terrified me the most because we lived like right next to 44.
Oh wow.
In North Dighton.
Okay.
And so I always expected to see this guy
driving late at
and
night.
so I've had an idea of what this guy looks like in my head since I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And so when he told me that was the story that they were telling, I was like, well, shit.
That's oddly serendipitous.
Yeah. And then he was like, so we want to know if you'll direct it for us.
And was that out of the blue, or had you had conversations with him prior to be like, this is something that I'm interested in?
It was pretty out of the blue.
It really was.
Yeah. I was not expecting it.
Cool.
For sure. I didn't even know that they were like getting ready to do anything.
Yeah.
So when he came to me, and my initial reaction, because at that time I had just produced those 2 short films with Steve, and in my head I was like, I really gotta, I just gotta direct something, and so I immediately said yes, and jumped in, and they were funding the whole thing themselves, just because it was the first project of their production company that they had started up.
Yeah.
So everything was kind of already in the works, and then. When they brought me in, I think we did maybe, I don't know, a couple weeks of adding and changing a couple things to the script together. And then just a bunch of, pre-production work, and then we were off to the races. But I ended up bringing Steve in to be the cinematographer on it.
It's kind of right up his alley.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because he has an eye for the horror stuff.
Yep.
Which I like to think that I don't.
Even though your favorite movie is The Shining.
Even though my favorite movie is The Shining, and I picked Aliens, and it's not what I would go to first of a genre in terms of like what I want to direct eventually. But it is a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun, and the movie itself is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I mean, you did a really great job with it.
Oh, thanks, man.
It kind of it has that what I associate with like New England folk terror, and it's got like a good. It's like something I would want to watch on or near Halloween.
Yeah.
And
it's it's so quick. It's such a quick movie, but it's I felt like it was a good opportunity to really showcase what we can do. As a group, and what we can accomplish, and I think we did that with it. We have car stunts in the thing, and all these crazy effects going on throughout the whole movie. So that was a nice challenge. I liked the story. I liked the legend of the ghost. I think that it's a very marketable story to tell.
For sure.
People are really into the Bridgewater Triangle these days.
I'm unfamiliar with the Bridgewater Triangle. Can you kind of fill me in here?
Yeah, so it's becoming a bigger thing every year. I feel like I hear more and more about it. But there's basically this story that the Bridgewater area, there's a a triangle of land in that particular area that's very prone to hauntings and different weird things, UFO sightings, and just a weird area, like a lot of weird shit's happening. There's like there's a story of a guy called the Pukwudgie, I think is the name.
Pukwudgie.
Yeah, and it's kind of like New England's what are the Mexican monsters? Those little chupacabra.
Chupacabra. Yeah.
It's kind of New England chupacabra.
Okay.
And a bunch of Indian burial ground type of stuff. And so it's all these myths and lore, and people get really into it. And, the redheaded ghost is within that triangle as well.
Sure.
But the New England Ghost Files also tells stories. His books tell stories that go all the way up to Maine and New Hampshire. And so what we've been looking at it as is like, this is a good opportunity of like, an anthology type of
I was literally
situation.
I was thinking that I was gonna ask you, like, in your conversations, has this seems like fertile ground for like you to either take on another one of these stories or like another director to kind of exercise their voice. Is that something you guys have been considering?
Yes.
Yeah,
for sure. We want to expand that whole universe quite a bit, but the first step of that was obviously the short that we did, 44,
Mhm.
which is still going, around to festivals and things like that. But we're also using that kind of as a proof of concept type of situation. So we're trying to now raise the funds to do a feature version of 44.
Get Out. Oh, I think
Yeah.
Rosario was telling me about that.
Yeah.
So are you? And I think he told us that you guys are the three of you are writing the script together.
Yes.
How long has that been going on?
Well, we had, I guess, right after we finished shooting the short, we kind of started talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
We wrote a prequel to like kind of figure out the origin of this ghost.
Yeah.
Which was going to be another short film that we did. But after we released 44 at the first festival that we did, we realized like, a lot of people really want to see this ghost. And like, we need to just
do the thing
and jump in head first. And like, we've been getting a lot of really great press with it. We were on the news up in Boston and all sorts of stuff. So we're like, now's the time to strike. Like, let's just get into it. So we got really right back into development right after our festival in Rehoboth, which was on October 19th. And we've been going ever since. So we're we're reworking our original ideas for what the feature is and making it.
Do you like the writing process?
Yes.
You do?
Yeah, I do a lot.
Now, are you the kind that'll sit down and like you can be alone with the blank page, or are you a note taker? Like, what, if you don't mind, I'm always curious in a writer's process without getting too, pinky up about it,
I'm not good at notes.
No.
I'm not. I don't take a lot of notes. So it does help with like talking to people. I like to have a group of people that I talk to.
Bounce around ideas.
A lot of my writing process is really, it looks like I'm not doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I am very much somebody who I have my desk at my little office and I sit there all day and I just kind of stare at the fucking ceiling half the time and I'm just thinking about shit. And I won't write shit down. I'll like, unless I absolutely think it's imperative, like I can't forget that. And I'll just do that until like I feel really good about a good chunk of the movie. Like I know what this chunk of the movie looks like and sounds like. And then I'll just start writing and I'll just go. Like I don't like to, a lot of people do like, I know what's his name? Spike Lee does the index card thing whenever he's writing, where you write a scene on each index card and then you kind of organize it in like the way that it should be for the movie. And that's how he goes about it. I like to just kind of, for the most part, just kind of jump in and
start to finish, or just like pick a scene.
Start to finish.
Yeah.
Usually. And just see where things head. Because in real life, when something happens, it leads to something else. So I don't really always like to know the ending of what I'm doing.
It's a dangerous place to put yourself.
It is. It can be. It gets a little.
Gets a little hairy.
Yeah, it can be a little hairy. So having like an idea of it is definitely good, but I don't like to like over. What's the word I'm looking for?
Maybe overthink the process. It's just like you'll overthink, but it's about the thing, and then it just kind of comes naturally.
Right, and like I'm a big fan of dialogue. Like I really like writing dialogue, and that's kind of an example where you really can't overthink it too much. Otherwise, it's going to come out sounding really fake.
Yeah, a little staccato, a little unnatural.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, speaking of dialogue, having the pleasure of reading the Motel Script, you've got a good ear for it.
Oh, thanks, man.
Where did that idea come from? I don't know how much you're ready to talk about that, given the fact that, it's still in pre-production, but I'd love to learn more about it because it was, I'll be honest with you. When it comes to short films, I'm always, the first thing I look for is the page count.
Yeah.
I am of this probably misguided opinion that a short really shouldn't be longer than 10, 15 pages at most.
Yeah.
So when you sent me the script and I saw 25 pages, I was like, okay, let's do this.
Yep.
But I got to the end of it and I was actually super pleasantly surprised. Like the dialogue was really good. The situation was good. Like it was very contained. It had a nice beginning, middle, and an end. I don't want to give anything away, but all of this is to just say that I really enjoyed it. And I'd be very interested in seeing it, especially because of who I know you have attached to it.
Yeah, because you've worked with them, with me as well.
Very talented actors.
Yeah, Lily Mae Harrington and Eli Henry, who were in Some Freaks, which we both did together.
Yep.
Which you came on the second half.
I did.
Right.
Because wasn't there a winter and a summer or a spring?
Yeah, so you did the summer.
I was on the summer.
So you did the Big Boys Will Be Girls party and,
Yep.
and things like that. Yeah, so I had met those two actors on that feature, which Lily's father is Charlie Harrington,
Get Out, really?
the location manager.
Yeah. Oh,
from
shit, I had no
Boston.
idea.
Yeah. So she's from the area, although she primarily lives in LA now. But I hadn't really thought about them when I was writing it. It kind of all started with I saw a motel on the side of the road when I was driving down the road, and I was like, I wonder what the fuck's going on in there. You know, like it was just one of those seedy looking motel places where you're like, the stories that
If the walls could speak.
Right, you know, like what kind of characters are hanging out in there, type of deal. So that kind of inspired it, and then I've also been writing a book, a novel called The Adventures of Henry Bergman. And so I kind of took the character from that and was like, well, he's a weird dude that I've created, so let's put him in this motel and see what happens. And he's kind of become my punk rock Sherlock Holmes.
Sure.
In the book version of it, at least.
Okay.
Which I think in the script
You
I briefly
allude
mentioned.
to.
Yeah. I allude to a little bit. But
actually, knowing that information now, that gives weight to what I read, and knowing the situation you set up in the motel, I would be interested to read the novel.
Yeah, and
no, seriously,
I'm writing the novel, but I'm also writing the feature as well on the side, and there's a lot I want to do with Henry Bergman.
Okay,
he's a big character in my mind.
Okay,
that just kind of popped into my head one time, and then it's just been expanding ever since. But I really enjoy writing for Henry Bergman and all of the bullshit that he gets himself into.
Okay.
And I just think it's hilarious to watch. So I wanted to find these, unique situations. I also wanted to touch base on like sex workers and normalizing that a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're kind of heading into that day and age now, which is great.
I agree.
Especially with movies like Anora coming out.
I want to see it so bad.
So good.
Yeah.
So good.
Okay.
It's like if the Coen brothers wrote a sex worker movie. It's fantastic. I absolutely love it.
For a guy who hosts a podcast about films, I have seen like 0 films in theater. Like, I need to get my shit together.
We gotta get you out there, man.
Seriously.
Yeah, we gotta go see him. So with like movies like that becoming so popular, I was like, well, maybe now's the time to kind of tell this type of story. For those who don't know, it's about a young man who is kind of down on his luck, and he ends up scheduling a dominatrix to a motel room because he feels like maybe he needs to explore this side of him, and it might help him a little bit emotionally as well. And a lot of shit goes.
The way that you
awry.
handle the situation, though, it's very. I don't want to say tactful, because that would almost suggest that, like, there's something clinical about it. I would say like almost graceful. Like, there's such an ease to the way that those two characters interact. I mean, obviously there's a huge comedic element to it,
right?
About
I mean, because the whole gag is that, and this isn't. I mean, I don't mind telling people this because I've been telling people since we started trying to raise funds for it. But when the dominatrix gets to the door, he realizes it's his ex-girlfriend.
Yeah,
and I think.
But there's something so good about that setup, because the thing that he wants her to do to him, it's so degrading and out there. And it's like, oh, that makes so much more sense that like you could get to that place with somebody you're comfortable with.
Right.
Which
at first, the initial reaction is like, oh, it's you?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want you to be the fucking dominatrix. I know, like, come on, we broke up. What is this? I was, trying to spend my hard-earned money on something wild. And then you show up. And so I thought that was an interesting dynamic to explore.
and it also was a way of shooting a short with the Henry Bergman character, and this is where the laziness of me comes in, a way of shooting a short with that character that I didn't need to write a mystery around.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
It's well, that's what I was getting at when I said it earlier, but it seems like a nice like little off ramp
Yeah.
to his character where you get the personality, you get a little bit of the backstory, but like you said, you don't have to go through the rigors of like, oh, he's got to solve a murder or missing persons or something.
Right. And like Eli, once I ended up figuring out that it was Eli, I mean, you look at the guy and
He's got such a distinctly like
he
Eli
is
look.
Henry.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Sure.
like he is that character. So now I'm like, all right, we gotta go all the way with this shit.
Gotta make moves.
So we have raised. We did some crowdfunding for it.
By the way, I gotta commend you on it. I mean, last I checked, I don't know if you reached your goal, but I know you got damn fucking close, and I have to commend you guys on your marketing. I thought that was really smart the way you guys, produced those different videos, introducing everybody to the crew, the producers. And there was a lot of humor in it. I mean, it was watchable even after, you got the message.
I will say thank you, number one. Those were a lot of fun to make. Again, anytime you're working with Rosario and Amelie and that whole group they're hilarious. I will say, and it's good to say this on here because maybe I can. I've been meaning to get this out to all the people that actually gave us money.
Bring it on.
Is the fact that it looks like we got a lot more money than we did.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we did Seed and Spark.
I'm vaguely familiar with it, which is to say I know it through you.
So it's a great crowdfunding site, a lot like Kickstarter. If you get 80% of your goal, they greenlight your project and you get all that money.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't reach 80%, the money goes back to the people who are investing.
Really?
Yeah, so you have to hit 80% in order to keep any money.
But wasn't your goal only like 17? And
it was 15.
And didn't you get like 13 though?
So we got up to 1250 or something like that. However, what we really got up to was like 5,500. How
does that work?
We were very short. There is a loophole that I found with Seed and Spark, where people can donate equipment, and then you can put a number next to that.
No.
And that's what. And so, the last couple days we weren't gonna hit it, and I was like, well, we have to just, get ourselves to this 80% so we can keep the $5,000 that we made.
Yeah.
So that's what we did. So we did not make 12. We only made about a little over 5,000, which is now sitting in the, savings account until we raise the rest. But we're looking up grants and we're doing all that stuff. So
that's actually a nice loophole that you took advantage of, though, to get you to that 80%.
Right. And like bad. The thing is, it's like I know the people that were offering equipment, like Steve was offering camera gear because he's got a shit ton. Jimmy Mitchell was offering lighting stuff, like all this stuff. And but I don't want to take loans.
Sure. No, that makes sense.
I want to pay people for what they do.
Yeah.
So it was really just a way of getting us to keep what we've raised. So that's sitting safely in a savings account. The movie's still going to happen. It's not going to happen until next year. But we are looking up grants and other investment opportunities to get us up to that 15 that we need to make it the correct way.
Well, that's excellent. I'm excited to see how that kind of progresses because, again, I'm not blowing smoke, I promise, but it was a nice kind of going into the script thinking one thing, 25 pages, and then to have that nice experience. So I think it was a nice twist on what I would... It's kind of like a rom-com, but it's not. It's like it almost feels like a Coen Brothers rom-com.
It's a rom-com for the fringe groups.
Yeah.
It's I really like characters that you don't really see. Like groups of people that you don't really focus on that much in mainstream movies. I'd love to be able to take characters like that and make them mainstream. That one's my more artistic freedom piece. Like that's my more like creative side. When it comes to something like 44, which is very entertaining to me, I consider that more business oriented in terms of filmmaking, just because it's not all my idea. We're basing it on something. I'm working with other writers and things like that. So that's more of a career movie goal than just this is what I want to make. Don't get me wrong, that's what I want to make, but I think Motel is probably more of a dream than.
Well, I hope it becomes a reality because it really was. It was nice.
Yeah, I think so. I think we'll get there next year at some point. I also didn't want to shoot when all the leaves were gone.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Feels like it's kind of a spring-summer movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're setting off fireworks and...
Fair enough. I forgot about that. It's funny. I didn't forget about it. I was literally just thinking in my head, if you need somebody to be the one to set off the fireworks, you could tap me in.
Hell yeah. Yeah, definitely, man.
I mean, in general, anything you need, I'd be more than happy to help. So keep me in the loop.
We found a motel.
I know. I saw it from the crowdfunding videos, and it's
perfect.
Looks good.
Perfect. Framingham.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. We actually shot Equalizer 2 there.
I wasn't on Equalizer 2, but you guys filmed there for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're used to it.
So what else are you working on aside from that? Or is, I mean, not that you're not already working on a shit ton of stuff between the comedy, the novel, Motel, shopping around 44 through the festival circuit. Is there anything else?
Yeah, I mean, it's really, I have a list of movies that I'm writing, like that I kind of just keep on the, I'm not ready to necessarily talk about yet, but I have about 5 that I'm writing right now, and I'm really trying to just go, because I'm just somebody who's just like, if we're gonna do something, let's fucking go big. I'm really pushing to do a feature. 44 obviously is number 1 on that list,
but that's not the only one.
That's not the only one, though. I mean, 44 is the one that I think is the most marketable. I think it's the one that people want to see the most, and I think it's the one that's going to get us to where we want to be making more. I don't know if daring is the right word, but taking more chances.
Well, we're in the Wild West now,
right?
With the studios trying to figure out what the fuck they're doing. So maybe now's the time to make it happen.
I think independent cinema is going to be king, man. I think it's going to be taken over again.
And I mean, even right here in New England, it's like, talking with yourself, talking with all these filmmakers who have kind of come in through our door. It's like, the talent's here. I mean, there's no excuse that we can't be making our own features and, doing it our way.
I've shot all over this country, up and down, and New England has the best film crew of the country.
Yeah.
Like, hands down. And I know I'm probably biased in that because I'm from here and this is where my career started, but they're the fastest, most caring crew that I've ever worked with. And when I say fast, I don't mean like they're that they're skipping steps or anything like that. They're fast, but they're very dedicated to their craft and the art that they end up making, and they make it to the absolute best of their ability. But they do it at a speed that also accommodates studios, which a lot of places don't have. A lot of people don't like. A lot of the crews that I've worked with all over the country are just very slow, or they just don't seem to really care as much. There's a lot of great crews out there. Don't get me wrong, but I just find New England to be my favorite to work with. So my goal is to bring more here.
Yeah.
Even though I'm moving to New York in January for a couple months, but
you'll be back.
I'll be back.
You got to.
I can't stay in New York for more than a couple months.
I can't stay in it for more than a few hours. I was there last year around this time, and I got there at 9 a.m. on a train, and I literally got on a train at 1 p.m. I was supposed to stay the night and like go get dinner with my friends, but I'm like, this is claustrophobic. Too many people. I am more of a country boy.
Too many people.
It's too many.
It's too many. It's too many, and like the smell.
It smells like urine.
Yeah, just everywhere. It's just a landfill, and making films and TV shows there is very hard.
Well, listen, man, we've got to get you to a train, but if I can, if anybody wants to watch 44, I know it's doing the festival circuit, but if you're open to having people reach out, maybe send a private link or checking out anything else that you're working on and updates, where can people find you?
Yeah, I would say, just hit me up on social media at K Morton on Instagram. There's also at Pasta Bedtime Productions, which is Rosario and all them. And at Plan Our Pictures, which is my production company. If you hit me up at one of those, I'll send you a link so you can check it out. It is not public right now, though, but it will be.
Well,
hopefully soon.
I'm excited to see what comes of Motel and anything else that you put your hands towards. Route 44 was great.
Yeah, man.
Guys, please check out Cam K. Morton. We are very happy to have you here. Thanks for coming down. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, man. This is a lot of fun. This place is really cool. I love the setup that you guys got.
Well, we'll have to have you back on when we get updates on everything else. All right?
Yeah, we're going to watch all 3 of these now, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, cool. Sweet.
All right, guys. Catch you on the next one.